Chapter 145. Gen Eton Shock. Several days later, two figures approached together. One was the white-haired Gen Eton, and the other, a spirited young man exuding the aura of a golden core cultivator. Elder He. I am Gen Eton. May I have a moment of your time? His voice echoed across Black Dragon Mountain, yet there was no sign of Chu Xuan, nor was Song Junjie and Chen Tang visible. Gen Eton scratched his head in confusion. Where is everyone? The vast Black Dragon Mountain seemed devoid of any host. After dozens of breaths, a chi refining disciple, soaring on a flying sword, ascended into the sky. The disciple bowed respectfully. I am Liu Qing, a disciple of Black Dragon Mountain. Greetings, Elder. Gen Eton frowned. Where is your Grandmaster? Where are the two Foundation establishment cultivators of Black Dragon Mountain? This is quite the neglect. Liu Qing bowed. Elder Jian, the Grandmaster is elusive, and both my master and Uncle Master Chen have left. May I know your business? Once my master returns, I will relay your message. Before Gen Eton could respond, the young man sighed. This is my first visit, and I do not even get to meet Elder He. To be received by a mere disciple, does Elder He think little of a newly ascended golden core like me? Never mind, Elder Jian, I'll return to my 1,000 hammer peak. I have much to attend to and shall not waste more time here. With that, the young man rode the wind away, disappearing from view. Gen Eton managed a wry smile, turning to Liu Qing. Liu Qing, was it? Remember this. The one who left is the newly ascended Golden Core Elder, Yuan Zichu, who has established his Taoist Hall at 1,000 Hammer Peak. Fellow Taoist Yuan, barely past 30, has already reached the Golden Core phase, promising a boundless future. I brought him here specifically to pay respects to your Black Dragon Mountain's ancient master, to form a good connection, alas. Ensure no discord arises between the two. When your master returns, make sure you relay my exact words to fellow Taoist He. Liu Qing nodded. Yes, I will report everything to the master as you said. After Gen Eton departed, Liu Qing returned to his cultivation chamber to resume his relentless training. Had it not been for the arrival of a golden core cultivator, whose voice permeated Black Dragon Mountain and with no one appearing to welcome him, he would have preferred not to leave his chamber at all. With the rule that failing to advance to the late stage of chi cultivation within 5 years results in transformation into a corpse puppet, his life was at stake. Where would he find the time for other concerns? Song Junjie and Chen Tang, busy capturing Foundation establishment and chi cultivation practitioners around the world, had even less time to spare. Each time they returned to Black Dragon Mountain, they only had time to drink some spiritual tea and ate some spiritual food before they had to leave again to continue capturing cultivators. Empowered by the magic tools bestowed by Chu Xuan, they moved without restraint. Unless a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator intervened, no other Foundation establishment practitioners could challenge them. Within a month, the two of them astonishingly captured 18 Foundation establishment cultivators and over 200 chi cultivation disciples. Such results greatly pleased Chu Xuan, who immediately rewarded them with various pills and talismans, items he found redundant but were highly useful for Foundation establishment cultivators. However, the actions of Black Dragon Mountain had incensed 1,000 Hammer Peak. A few days later, Yuan Zichu arrived at Black Dragon Mountain in a fury. His booming voice erupted, resonating throughout the mountain. He Liang, come out. His golden core cultivation unfurled recklessly, instilling genuine fear in every disciple on Black Dragon Mountain. At that moment, Song Junjie and Chen Tang, who had just returned with a few captured Foundation establishment cultivators, quickly positioned themselves at the mountain gate. Who goes there, and why do you address my master with such disrespect? Song Junjie demanded sternly. Yuan Zichu, incredulous and further infuriated, retorted, You don't even know who I am? Your Black Dragon Mountain is truly discourteous. Accusing me of rudeness while being rid yourselves. Ji Lian, come out. Your Black Dragon Mountain has raided my spiritual seedlings 5 times. Yuan Zichu's tirade was abruptly cut off as his pupils dilated in alarm. He swiftly dodged to the side. A massive black python shot out from somewhere in Black Dragon Mountain, narrowly missing him. Had his reaction been any slower, he would have been struck solidly by the black python. Upon closer inspection, Yuan Zichu realized that it wasn't a python at all, but a magic treasure radiating a fierce, chilling light. Such a ferocious magic treasure. He thought, shocked. He had not expected He Liang to possess such a formidable magic treasure, and his initial bluster diminished significantly. Before Yuan Zichu could speak again, a figure sped toward him at an incredible pace. The fist of this figure magnified rapidly. Only a breath ago, it was still at the mountain gate, and the next, it was inches from his nose. Yuan Zichu's heart pounded violently. From this unadorned fist, he sensed an immense threat, a threat of death. He couldn't fathom why such a thought occurred to him, but clearly, there was no time to dodge. He had to block the strike. Yuan Zichu swiftly formed a seal, and immediately, a tree-layered water-blue protective shield appeared in front of him, consisting of pale blue, azure, and deep blue layers. He slapped his storage bag, summoning 3 talismans that burst into flames and formed 3 layers of defense. Then, with a surge of his spiritual chi, he activated a small shield-shaped magic treasure to guard his face. Renowned as a prodigy within the 100 Refinement Sect, Yuan Zichu had been nurtured as if born with a silver spoon. He was laden with an abundance of magic treasures, spells, and talismans. Had he not insisted, the sect master of the 100 Refinement Sect would never have assigned him to establish his Taoist hall at Thousand Hammer Peak, preferring instead to keep him safe in the rear to continue his cultivation. Yuan Zichu thought to himself, with so many defensive measures, I should be able to block this strike. However, before he could finish his thought, the fist, as large as a pot, smashed through the small shield magic treasure, shattered the talismans, and breached the spell defenses, aiming straight for his head. Yuan Zichu's eyes nearly bulged out in shock. He only had time to shield his face with his life-bound magic treasure. Bang! The fist instantly cracked the life-bound magic treasure. Yuan Zichu's body was hurled backward, spewing blood mid-air. His life-bound magic treasure dimmed and emitted mournful whines. Just as Chu Xuan was about to follow through with his punch to obliterate Yuan Zichu's head, a streak of light approached from afar, shouting, Elder He, please refrain. Yuan Zichu is one of our own, an elder of the 100 Refinement Sect. Chu Xuan frowned and held back his strike. He had thought Yuan Zichu was merely a courier delivering treasures. Unbeknownst to him, the man was actually a Golden Core elder of the 100 Refinement Sect. Thus, a direct killing was no longer an option. Jin Etone rushed over to help Yuan Zichu up, inwardly dismayed by the growing rift this incident might cause. Yuan Zichu, clutching his chest and looking at Chu Xuan with fear, heard Jin Etone begin to explain, but he quickly interrupted, bowing to Chu Xuan. Elder He, I was presumptuous. This fault is mine today. I should not have rushed to Black Dragon Mountain and questioned you without explanation. He then produced a magic treasure. This treasure is called the Imperial Sky Mirror, a mid-grade flying magic treasure. I hope you will accept it. He bowed deeply to Chu Xuan. May we consider the matter of the spiritual seedlings resolved, and I ask for your understanding and forgiveness. Jin Etone's eyes widened. Yuan Zichu was known for his pride and vengefulness. Why was he backing down today? And why was he offering a treasure so readily? Chapter 146. Hidden Mountain Gathering. Not only was Jin Etone astonished, but Chu Xuan was also somewhat surprised. From their brief encounter, he had discerned that this young man was certainly not of low status. Despite only being at the first layer of the Golden Core, he was adorned with treasures. Such a person either held a high status or possessed exceptional talents. Typically, aren't such cultivators known for their vengeful nature? Yet, despite having his life-bound magic treasure nearly shattered by Chu Xuan, there was no hint of resentment in his eyes, no waiting for a future day of retribution. Instead, his demeanor softened, and he even proffered a mid-grade flying magic treasure, an act completely at odds with the vindictive geniuses of typical cultivation novels. Seeing Chu Xuan remain silent, Yuan Zichu gritted his teeth and pulled out 3 Golden Core Stage talismans. Elder He, here are 2 Earth Prison talismans and 1 5 Thunder talisman, all crafted by myself. Jin Etone was immediately taken aback. Yuan Zichu was a well-known talisman master within the 100 Refinement Sect. The Earth Prison talisman he crafted could detain enemies for a longer duration than those made by other talisman masters. The 5 Thunder talisman also boasted greater power. Other Golden Core cultivators would usually seek to purchase talismans from him, yet here he was, offering free to Chu Xuan. Chu Xuan's expression remained unchanged. Since that is the case, I shall accept them. With a sweep of his hand, he collected the mirror and the 3 talismans into his pouch. Treasures offered on a silver platter should never be declined. Yuan Zichu finally breathed a sigh of relief as he watched Chu Xuan take the magic treasures and talismans. Although Jian Yitong might not have understood, Yuan had recognized Chu Xuan's strength during their confrontation. A body cultivator, and one who had cultivated his physical body to an incredibly strong realm, potentially capable of contending with late-stage golden core cultivators. Body refining consumes a tremendous amount of resources and is considered a path against the natural order in these times. That He Liang had achieved such a state indicated either extraordinary talent or substantial resources. Either way, Yuan Zichu did not wish to provoke him. Although he was known for his vindictiveness, he also knew whom he could afford to retaliate against and whom he could not. Clearly, the master of Black Dragon Mountain was not someone he could afford to antagonize. Yuan Zichu smiled. Elder He, my Taoist Hall is located 6,000 li east of Black Dragon Mountain, on Thousand Hammer Peak. When you have time, I would be honored to host you. With those words, he rode the winds away, vanishing in the blink of an eye, though it seemed almost as if he was fleeing. Song Junjie and Chen Tang were simultaneously delighted and shocked, with a tinge of melancholy. While they were pleased with their master's growing strength, it also meant that they would likely never escape his control. Jian Yitong blinked, the initial surprise giving way to understanding as he realized that Yuan Zichu was indeed frightened by Chu Xuan. This was why he had offered treasures and talismans, fearing that Chu Xuan might harbor intentions to kill. Let's all go back, Chu Xuan dismissed with a wave of his hand. Jian Yitong cleared his throat and spoke in a low voice. The heaven-burning sect is about to make its move. I suspect they'll act against us soon. A senior golden core cultivator I know has organized a gathering of golden core cultivators. You just need to swallow a transformative voice pill to attend, and no one will know who you are. Elder He, if you are interested, it might be worth checking out. I assume you haven't gathered enough sect contributions to exchange for items yet, and such a gathering could present valuable opportunities. Chu Xuan appeared contemplative. A golden core assembly sounded promising indeed. Perhaps he could acquire a thunder python core there, which could advance his realm into the golden core phase in sheer refining. As for the transformative voice pill, being a master of disguise, he was well aware of it, a pill that allowed one to alter one's appearance and voice. His storage bag still contained many such items, and his current disguise techniques were far more advanced than what the pill offered. He could easily discern others' disguises while remaining undetected himself. If Jian Yitong was setting a trap, or if the Golden Core Assembly harbored hidden dangers, that would suit him even better. His 30 layers of body refinement were not just for show. When and where? Chu Xuan asked. 6 days from now, in Divine Star Valley, Jian Yitong replied, producing a jade slip. You will need this to enter. Good, Chu Xuan nodded. 6 days later, Divine Star Valley. The spiritual chi here was not particularly dense, but it had always been regarded as a sacred site by the Divine Star Sect, for it was from this valley that the sect's founder had embarked on the path that led to the establishment of the mighty Divine Star Sect. However, since the sect had uneventfully dissolved, the valley had been plundered by rogue cultivators and had become a ruin. No one visited this sacred site of a fallen sect anymore. A streak of light cut through the sky as Chu Xuan landed in the valley. An array, and a large-scale illusionary one at that. Impressive, he noted with a light chuckle. He took out a jade slip from his storage bag. The slip seemed to sense something and flew out on its own, casting a beam of light. Where the light touched, a screen of light split open before him. Through the screen, one could see a completely different world. Chu Xuan stepped forward confidently. The scenery transformed instantly before him, revealing a long table and several scattered chairs. 12 cultivators were seated on the chairs, most of them cautiously spaced apart, although a few who seemed to know each other sat closer. As Chu Xuan entered, all 12 golden core cultivators turned their gazes towards him. He returned their looks without hesitation. Before arriving at Divine Star Valley, he had ingested a grand transformation pill he had concocted himself. Not only had his appearance and voice changed, but even his physique was altered. Moreover, he had concealed his aura using the turtle breath technique. No matter how the others tried to probe, they could only discern that he was a mid-stage golden core chi cultivator, with no visible signs of his body refinement. A burly man burst into laughter. Ha ha, another fellow Taoist has arrived, welcome. Please, take a seat, he gestured. Chu Xuan casually chose a seat and began to survey the 12 golden cores. None wore masks, evidently having consumed transformative form and voice bells. However, with his profound expertise in disguise, Chu Xuan could still identify several individuals whose features had been altered by the pills. Yet, whether the appearances revealed by the pills were genuine was debatable. For instance, Chu Xuan himself was using the alias He Lian and a face that was not his own. After scanning the room, he spotted Jen Etan. The old man had transformed himself into a strikingly handsome young man in white, flirtatiously interacting with a voluptuous woman whose seductive gaze was like silk. The holders of the jade slips have all arrived. Good, remarked the burly man after a pause. He smiled and continued, since we have 3 newcomers today, I will reiterate the rules of the Hidden Mountain Gathering. First, the Hidden Mountain Gathering does not discriminate based on alignment, sect, or nationality. Anyone is welcome to trade here. Second, members of the Hidden Mountain Gathering should address each other by codenames and must not reveal their real names or identities. Of course, if you choose to disclose your identity, you must bear the consequences yourself. Third, no member may reveal the existence of the Hidden Mountain Gathering to outsiders. Violators will be pursued and executed by all members of the gathering. As he delivered the last rule, the tone of the burly man turned unmistakably stern. Chapter 147, The Reward of Feather Transformation Heaven Palace. Chu Xuan's eyebrows twitched upon hearing this. Hidden Mountain Gathering? Had Jen Etan, the elderly master, inexplicably drawn him into an organization? He glanced at Jen Etan and was struck by the sight of the old man no longer exchanging flirtatious glances with a voluptuous female cultivator, but sitting upright in apparent confusion. It seemed he too did not understand why a straightforward Golden Core cultivator meeting had suddenly been dubbed the so-called Hidden Mountain Gathering. Chu Xuan surveyed the other cultivators without betraying his thoughts, noticing a fleeting emotion in some eyes that mirrored his own. However, these signs were swiftly concealed. After all, they were all cultivators who had achieved the Golden Core stage, well practiced in controlling their emotions. The burly man continued, perhaps some of you wish not to join the Hidden Mountain Gathering, and that is fine. You only need to swear not to disclose the existence of it and you may leave. Of course, the oath you take is not a heart-devouring oath but one that I dictate, he added, producing a talisman paper with something inscribed on it. Chu Xuan raised an eyebrow. Making a heart-devouring oath oneself and abiding by an oath set by another were entirely different matters. Sorcerers had numerous ways to circumvent self-imposed heart-devouring oaths, but an oath imposed by another left no loopholes. The 12 Golden Core cultivators fell into silence, yet none rose to leave. Seeing this, the burly man smiled and said, Good, then let's officially begin the session of the Hidden Mountain Gathering. Let me introduce myself first. My codename is Black Chess. I organize each meeting of the Hidden Mountain Gathering, and I will notify you of the specific times and places through the Hidden Mountain Jade, he said, holding up the jade slip. Here, this little trinket. Black Chess smiled again. Oh, and any member who fails to attend 5 consecutive meetings will be assumed dead. Let's start the introductions from you, Black Chess directed, turning to the person on his left. The man, lean and wiry, responded calmly, codename, Flying Fish. After him, the next person stated, Skystein. One by one, codenames were announced. Jen Etan's codename was Righteousness, a choice that seemed ironic considering his earlier lascivious demeanor. When it was Chu Xuan's turn, he simply stated his codename and fell silent. Harpless. That was the codename he had chosen for himself, aptly reflecting his persona. He meticulously memorized the codenames of all present, ensuring he knew each participant clearly. All right, let's begin the trading, Black Chess said with a smile. Everyone, please announce the items you wish to trade. Whether it's one-on-one or one-to-many exchanges, that's up to you. Flying Fish immediately responded, a mid-grade magic treasure, named the Mystical Mirror. It can delay the spiritual chi of an opponent. The price is 40,000 small spiritual stones. Skystone added, a mid-grade golden core spiritual secret technique, the Soul Vortex. It has 3 levels, and upon mastering the 3rd, one can devour an opponent's soul. I ask for 60,000 small spiritual stones. One by one, items were placed on a long table, each enveloped in spiritual chi. Chu Xuan listened with keen interest. However, after calculating his resources, he realized he could afford only one of these items. The price of magic treasures and secret techniques skyrockets upon entering the Golden Core path. He recalled Shangwan Feng and Zhong Wei, both Golden Core cultivators who had not been targeted by either the 100 Refinement Sect or the Heaven Burning Sect. Perhaps their ability to escape amidst chaos and live luxuriously within the territory of the 100 Sects Alliance was partly due to their substantial familial wealth. Those with scarce resources naturally lacked power, and predators focused on fatter sheep, allowing the likes of them to escape and thrive. Chu Xuan continued to listen, noting that some were trading special treasures from the Heaven Burning Sect. Perhaps these were Golden Core cultivators from that sect. The Hidden Mountain Gathering was indeed intriguing, with Golden Core cultivators from the Heaven Burning Sect and the 100 Refinement Sect coming together for mutual benefit. Suddenly, a voice rang out, "Information, a bounty from the Feather Transformation Heaven Palace." This bounty was issued directly by the Feather Transformation Heaven Palace to the nascent soul elders of the major sects in the Northern Cold, Southern Wilderness, Eastern Border, and Western Land. Most Golden Core cultivators are unaware of it. The reward is the corpses of 3 nascent soul stage cultivators. After these words, all eyes turned toward the speaker. Chu Xuan's eyes flickered with interest. The person who spoke was codenamed Whitewater. His appearance and aura were quite ordinary, so Chu Xuan hadn't paid much attention to him before. But now, he understood that this man was far from simple. Feather Transformation Heaven Palace, which Chu Xuan had researched alongside the Nether Dao Sect, was the supreme ruler of the Mystic Azure Realm, unmatched by any other. Mystic Azure Realm was a cultivation star known to the lower-tier cultivators simply as Mystic Azure Realm. To the more powerful cultivators, it was referred to as Mystic Azure Star. Feather Transformation Heaven Palace dominated the central continent of Mystic Azure Star, where the spiritual chi was richest. It largely ignored the other forces on a star, adopting a hands-off approach. The Nether Dao Sect was once a colossal sect that stood shoulder to shoulder with Feather Transformation Heaven Palace. However, one day, the ancestral ground of the Nether Dao Sect vanished without a trace, leading to the sect's downfall. Feather Transformation Heaven Palace then absorbed the remnants of the Nether Dao Sect, solidifying its position as the absolute dominator of Mystic Azure Star. Historically, Feather Transformation Heaven Palace rarely imposed any demands on other sects. Yet, why had they suddenly issued a bounty now? The bounty offered was even the corpses of 3 nascent soul cultivators, whose bodies were undecayed, with their potent life force entirely locked within. These 3 nascent soul corpses could be used in corpse refinement, puppet crafting, or even as cauldrons, offering endless possibilities. With the announcement of this bounty, all sects would undoubtedly be driven into a frenzy. Every Golden Core present surely harbored covetous thoughts. As expected. As soon as Whitewater finished speaking, Black Chess, Flying Fish, and Skystone, among others, all turned their attention towards him. "I wish to hear this piece of information," declared Black Chess immediately. "So do I," another chimed in. "Seconded," echoed a third. Chu Xuan also voiced his agreement. In a mere moment, all 12 Golden Cores in the room expressed their desire to hear the information. Whitewater held up a finger, 10,000 small spiritual stones per person, or the equivalent. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, Chu Xuan transferred 10,000 small spiritual stones into a low-grade storage bag and tossed it over. The other cultivators did the same without hesitation. Once the payments were settled, Whitewater calmly disclosed, the bounty issued by Feather Transformation Heaven Palace targets 2 resurrected prodigies of the Nether Dao Sect. The first, Overlord Shan Chenjue. The second, Shan Xinchen the Ghost Dragon. Upon hearing this, the room was filled with astonishment. The Nether Dao Sect? 2 resurrected prodigies? A spark of realization flashed through Chu Xuan's mind, instantly recalling the underground ruins in the Cloud Mist Mountains. That place was the ghost palace of the Nether Dao Sect. Could it be that cultivators from the past era of the Nether Dao Sect had emerged from there? Whitewater continued, "As you may know, the Nether Dao Sect comprises 4 palaces: Ghost Palace, Gu Palace, Corpse Palace, and Blood Palace. These palaces are distributed throughout Mystic Azure Star, including both true and false palaces. The Ghost Palace in the Misty Mountains a few years ago was one such false palace. Feather Transformation Heaven Palace's diviners have foreseen a potential resurgence of the Nether Dao Sect, led by either Shan Chenjue or Shan Xingchen, both of whom vanished around 500 years ago when the sect was annihilated. Whitewater stated evenly, "The bounty from Feather Transformation Heaven Palace is clear. Find them, dead or alive, and bring them to the gates of Feather Transformation Heaven Palace in the Central Continent." Chapter 148, Lone Wolves. Upon hearing Whitewater's words, the cultivators present all began to scheme quietly. Compared to the imminent war between the 100 Refinement Sect and the Heaven Burning Sect, the bounty from Feather Transformation Heaven Palace was far more enticing. Possessing the corpses of 3 nascent soul cultivators, what more could they worry about? They could even disregard the 100 Refinement Sect and the Heaven Burning Sect, striding boldly across the entire Mystic Azure Star. Moreover, the nascent soul ancestors of the Heaven Burning Sect and the 100 Refinement Sect, upon learning of this bounty, would likely slow their war efforts to focus entirely on capturing Shang Qinjue and Shang Xingchen. Chu Xuan harbored some thoughts on this matter as well. But they were just thoughts. He did not believe that Shang Qinjue and Shang Xingchen, who had resurrected, would be easy to kill. If they could emerge from underground ruins and survive across 5 centuries, it indicated they certainly had powerful backing. Excessive greed might well lead to fatal consequences. Rather than the bounty from Feather Transformation Heaven Palace, Chu Xuan found Whitewater's identity more intriguing. If this bounty was directly issued by Feather Transformation Heaven Palace to the nascent soul ancestors of various sects across Mystic Azure Star, how could a Golden Core cultivator like him be aware of it? However, Chu Xuan only pondered these thoughts. The 12 Golden Cores present were each exceptional and of unknown background. His greatest reliance was his body refined through 30 layers, making him capable of defeating any one of them in single combat, but at the cost of exposing some of his secrets and possibly sustaining injuries. Chu Xuan never engaged in acts that were more trouble than they were worth. The trading continued. When it was Chu Xuan's turn, he produced a small bottle. Qi binding dust. Once inhaled, it prevents the target from using their internal spiritual qi and from absorbing spiritual qi from the environment. Effective against Golden Core cultivators. 6,000 small spiritual stones per bottle. If anyone has a Thunder Attribute Serpent Demon Core from the Foundation Establishment stage, I am willing to purchase it at a high price. This Qi-binding dust was a poison he had acquired from the Venom scripture. After much consideration, it was the only item he felt safe to trade. The other poisons he possessed were too potent. Trading them might bring unnecessary trouble upon himself. As for magical tools, elixirs, and talismans, most were suited only for Foundation Establishment cultivators and were not worthy of offering here. Chu Xuan already had the antidote for the Qi-binding dust, which was why he dared to offer it in the trade. "I'll take it." Black Chess's eyes sparkled as he spoke. "I happen to have 3 demon cores that meet your requirements. We can discuss the trade in private later." Chu Xuan nodded slightly. None of the other offerings caught his eye. He only found the Golden Core mid-grade spiritual sense secret technique appealing, but he had already condensed the Soul Core, granting him immense spiritual strength. Even a lower-grade Golden Core technique like the Soul-Piercing Needle could be immensely powerful in his hands. As for magic treasures and elixirs, they were even less appealing. His physical body was now comparable to a mid-grade magic treasure. Unless someone offered a superior-grade magic treasure, he was not even interested in looking. Regarding elixirs, only those with special properties could be of some use to him. He disregarded elixirs that enhanced the Golden Core stage. With an abundance of yin evil qi and blood honey, he had no need for such cultivation-boosting elixirs. Instead, he was interested in elixirs that could help his corpse puppet or ghost break through bottlenecks. Who, since merging with his spirit root and consuming the corpses of Golden Core cultivators, had rapidly ascended to the level of a 9th-grade corpse general. Unfortunately, he seemed to be at a bottleneck, unable to condense a corpse core and advance to the rank of corpse commander. Suddenly, another person spoke. "I have information on the Nether Dao sect that might be useful in finding Shang Qinjue and Shang Xingchen." At this statement, the eyebrows of the Golden Core cultivators present all raised, though none immediately spoke up to buy the information. Chu Xuan glanced at the speaker, whose codename was Deep Say. "I'm somewhat interested. Let's hear it," said Jen Etain with a few strange laughs. "I am also interested. Name your price," Skystone added. Deep Sea held up 5 fingers. "This information has some value, but not a lot. 3,000 small spiritual stones should suffice." Black Chess looked around, noticing everyone's interest, and suggested, "Then let's do it like before. everyone contributes 3,000 small spiritual stones. How about it? Agreed. Acceptable. After everyone contributed 3,000 small spiritual stones, Deep Sea spoke solemnly. When the Heaven Burning Sect marched north, after swallowing the Heavenly Seal Sect, they ousted the Divine Star Sect and dominated the Misty Mountains. At that time, the Heaven Burning Sect had dispatched a Golden Core Cultivator to lead a large group of cultivators to guard the Ghost Palace of the Nether Sect there. However, after some time, that Golden Core Cultivator was declared missing, and so were the cultivators who followed him to guard that place. That Ghost Palace might be a fake, but perhaps something emerged from it. After hearing this information, everyone present pondered quietly, opting to remain silent. When each person had reported in turn, it was time for private trading. Black Chess actively approached Chu Xuan, stretching out his hand to reveal 3 demon cores. Each core was the size of a fist, smooth, and emitted an aura of thunder and lightning. Chu Xuan nodded slightly. Foundation establishment stage demon cores typically go for around 500 small spiritual stones. I'll offer 600 each. How does that sound? Black Chess nodded. If you need more of these demon cores, I have more available. Chu Xuan acknowledged with a nod. Moments later, the transaction was completed. He then acquired a Grandian Mystic Evil Pill from a Golden Core Cultivator codenamed Snow Mountain for 3,000 small spiritual stones, which could aid a corpse puppet in condensing a corpse core. 2 hours later, the private trading session concluded. Black Chess declared the gathering over and mentioned that the time of the next meeting would be communicated at an appropriate moment. The Golden Core Cultivators began to leave one by one. Chu Xuan was the first to leave, but he immediately hid outside the Divine Star Valley. He was intent on following some of them but discovered that these individuals were exceedingly cunning. Some used flying magic treasures that disappeared in the blink of an eye, others circled around confusingly, and some, like Jian Iton, simply stayed in the valley pretending to admire the scenery until everyone else had left. However, Chu Xuan's spiritual sense detected that 3 individuals were still hidden in this relatively small area of the Divine Star Valley. He shook his head in amusement. Chu Xuan stood up, dusted off his pants, and decided to leave. Boring, let's go. As he stood, he deliberately glanced at the 3 hidden individuals, making it clear he had spotted them. The 3 sensed they were discovered but showed no embarrassment. They too stood up, bowed to each other, and then dispersed. With that, the narrow and Divine Star Valley finally returned to tranquility. At the Houtai Hotel. As soon as Chu Xuan returned, he summoned Hu to his side. He produced the Grandian Mystic Evil Pill. This will be very helpful for you to condense your corpse core. Eat it. Without suspicion, Hu swallowed the pill immediately. Soon after, he closed his eyes, and a Fatian Qi began to gather around him. The Yin Evil Qi here is insufficient. We need to go to the Great Array. Chu Xuan picked up Hu and threw him into the tower, then headed straight for the soul-capturing Evil Nurturing Array. Chapter 149, an Intersect Disciple Competition. After arriving at the array, Chu Xuan threw Hu into it. He then thought for a moment and decided to retrieve several tens of kilograms of blood honey from the bee nest, placing it beside Hu. Soon, the Yin Evil Qi began to converge towards Hu, gradually forming a dense, dark purple cocoon around his body. It seemed that it would take at least a year or 2 for the corpse core to condense. Chu Xuan then settled himself down within the formation. He had acquired 3 Thunder Python demon cores from Black Chess, and it was an opportune moment to condense his own golden core, advancing his cultivation from a Qi refinement to the golden core stage. Swallowing the 3 Thunder Python demon cores, Chu Xuan immediately began compressing the spiritual Qi within his body. Foundation establishment cultivators search high and low for Thunder Python demon cores, yet I easily obtained them from Golden Core cultivators at a hidden mountain gathering. Indeed, the circles one moves in can make a significant difference in what one acquires. Chu Xuan smiled lightly. He then calmed his mind and began compressing his spiritual Qi according to the Thunder Python core condensation technique. Each demon core had its intricacies, and the method of condensing a core varied with different types of demonic beasts. There were no shortcuts in the process of compressing spiritual Qi. It was a slow and steady effort. After 8 months of repeatedly emptying and refilling his spiritual Qi, Chu Xuan felt an expanding sensation within the demon core, signaling that it was almost time to condense the golden core. Another 8 months passed. Chu Xuan's aura surged wildly as the demon core continued to rotate, collapse, and harden. At a certain moment, the Thunder Python demon core finally collapsed into a smooth, round golden core, surrounded by crackling thunder, with the pattern of a coiled python etched on its surface. This was the mark of a based golden core. The moment the golden core was formed, Chu Xuan opened his eyes, a look of satisfaction on his face. With a golden core swallowed, from now on, my fate is in my own hands. He chuckled to himself, feeling that such old sayings were somewhat pretentious. After all, he could now easily burst a mere golden core with a single punch. Chu Xuan stood up, looking towards the center of the formation where he was enveloped in a large, dark purple cocoon. There were no signs of the cocoon breaking open. Just as Chu Xuan was about to leave, he heard a faint crackling sound from the surface of the cocoon. His expression brightened. It seems we are also nearing the final stage. Chu Xuan decided to sit down beside the formation, studying the venom scripture while waiting. He discovered that although his talent in the path of alchemy was mediocre, he excelled in the art of poison. His storage bag now contained 6 types of poisons capable of killing golden core cultivators, 3 with color, 2 with smell, and the strongest being colorless and odorless, a truly formidable poison. However, Chu Xuan suddenly had a new inspiration. He thought of designing a poison that could latch onto an opponent's spiritual chi during combat. Once the enemy retracted their spiritual chi, the poison would enter directly into their golden core, attacking it from within. Several days passed, and the cracks on the surface of the dark purple cocoon multiplied, spreading like a spider web. Finally, on the 10th day, under Chu Xuan's expectant gaze, the cocoon shattered piece by piece. A figure, far more robust and imposing than before, emerged from the remains of the cocoon, who now stood nearly 5 meters tall, his body covered in dense bone armor that could expand and contract at will. His arms and legs were muscular, bulging like rocks, and Chu Xuan had no doubt about the immense strength flowing through them, enough to crush a golden core on the spot. "Master!" who called out excitedly. Chu Xuan laughed heartily. "Come on, hit me with a few punches. Let's see whether my 30 layers of body refining are stronger, or your new rank as a first-level corps commander." Who immediately slid to his knees. Who dares not attack the master, but without a doubt, the master's strength is greater. Chu Xuan cocked his head. "You won't hit me? Then I'll hit you." At that, he charged forward with a punch. "Master, here I come." Pound, pound, pound. The sound of fists hitting flesh echoed throughout the formation, like thunder. Laughter followed soon after. A man and a corpse, they fought vigorously, reveling in the combat. The wandering souls around them dared not approach, fearing they might be caught up in the fray. Several days later, at Black Dragon Mountain. An intersect disciple competition? "No, I won't go," Chu Xuan said, shaking his head upon hearing the reports from Song Junjie and Chen Tang. The 100 Refinement sect had 35 golden core cultivators. Aside from 2 who were in closed-door cultivation and did not accept disciples, the other 33 had established their own subsects. The intersect disciple competition was intended to rank the Foundation establishment and Shi refining disciples among these 33 subsects. A victory for his disciples would reflect well on him as their master, but Chu Xuan was indifferent to such recognition. Back when he was part of the Heavenly Seal sect, there had been similar competitions, and Chu Xuan had never participated. Now, even though he was considered a peer of Wan Wuing, his feelings hadn't changed. Chen Tang, looking deferential, added, "Master." The top 10 disciples in both Foundation establishment and Qi refining not only receive personal rewards, their masters also receive substantial contributions rewards. Chu Xuan, appearing benevolent, responded, "Then go ahead. You've all been practicing diligently. It's a good opportunity to test your skills. Don't disgrace me," he added offhandedly. The contributions were inconsequential to him. His primary interest was in seeing the disciples of Black Dragon Mountain perform well and make a name for themselves. That's it. "Master, will you be attending?" Chen Tang asked quietly. Chu Xuan shook his head. "I won't go. It would only add pressure on you." Song Junjie and Chen Tang muttered under their breaths, acknowledging that even Chu Xuan was aware of the pressure his presence could cause. They nodded vigorously. "We understand." The competition lasted for 10 days. The other 32 subsects were left somewhat shocked by the performance of the Black Dragon Mountain disciples. In the Foundation Establishment category, Black Dragon Mountain secured 4 of the top 10 spots. In the Chi Refining category, they claimed 3. This intersect competition saw the long-established subsects overshadowed, with only Black Dragon Mountain shining bright like a dark, polished stallion, so dazzling that it left others unable to open their eyes. Chu Xuan watched as his Elder Token's contribution surged, grinning from ear to ear. The cultivators from Black Dragon Mountain had been training hard under his encouragement, rapidly advancing their realms and earning him a lot of contributions. Now, with such outstanding results, he felt even more gratified. Indeed, he was a good master. Original Dao Peak. This was where the 100 Refinement Sect's Scripture Pavilion was located. After the competition ended, Chu Xuan made his way there immediately. Having achieved Golden Core status, he needed to continue his practice with Golden Core stage techniques. His late master had only had time to impart the core condensation technique and not any Golden Core stage methods, so now he had to exchange for them himself. The Scripture Pavilion was a 9-story pagoda. In front of it was a vast square, bustling with disciples coming and going. Chu Xuan flew down to the square using his Imperial Sky Mirror. His Elder Token, hanging at his waist, clearly identified his status. As he passed, disciples bowed in respect. However, once he was far enough away, they began to whisper among themselves. Chapter 150, Black Heart Ancestor? That's the master of Black Dragon Mountain, the so-called Black Heart Ancestor? Truly, seeing is believing. One disciple murmured as Chu Xuan approached the Scripture Pavilion. I heard the cultivators at Black Dragon Mountain train fanatically every day, and those who don't meet the requirements get turned into corpse puppets. Another whispered, a mix of fear and fascination in their voice. That's brutal. Isn't that a method of the demonic path? Questioned a third, their face creased in disapproval. If you ask me, other subsects also use demonic methods, they just hide them better. The Blackheart Ancestor just puts it all out in the open, a fourth disciple chimed in, trying to sound pragmatic. Because of the Black Dragon Mountain affair, our Mystic Wind Cave's Golden Core Ancestor has also issued an order. Those who don't meet the standards will be expelled from a sect. A fifth shared, his tone a mix of resignation and anxiety. The same goes for my Flying Dragon Mansion. Another agreed, nodding vigorously. The disciples' voices, though subdued, carried to Chu Xuan. His soul, strengthened by the Soul Core, was far more potent than that of most Golden Core cultivators, allowing him to overhear their quiet complaints. Black Heart Ancestor. That title actually suits my persona quite well. Chu Xuan mused a hint of amusement in his tone. Unknowingly, has Black Dragon Mountain stirred up the entire 100 Refinement Sect? He chuckled lightly, finding the situation both ironic and slightly flattering. As Chu Xuan strode into the Scripture Pavilion, the elderly cultivator guarding the entrance noticed the waves of invisible energy emanating from a Golden Core Elder Token at Chu Xuan's waist. The old man jumped up from his seat, startled awake from his dozing. Greetings, Elder. The old cultivator said with deep respect. Chu Xuan nodded slightly. I wish to exchange for Golden Core stage techniques. The Golden Core techniques are on the 7th floor, the elder quickly informed. With a nod, Chu Xuan flashed to the 7th floor of the pavilion. This level was meticulously organized, filled with a vast array of scriptures, techniques for chi cultivation, spiritual sense secrets, and even body refining methods were all available. Chu Xuan passed by the sections containing lower and mid-grade Golden Core techniques, heading straight for the areas dedicated to superior and top-grade techniques. His gaze swept over the titles. Heavenly River Heavy Water Scroll, Blood Refinement True Art, 3000 Mysterious Threads Chapter. Raising an eyebrow, Chu Xuan noted to himself, the 100 Refinement Sect Scripture Pavilion certainly has an abundance of demonic arts. Yet, he did not see any overtly sinister or nefarious techniques, nor any methods explicitly for corpse refining. Only puppet crafting was mentioned. But in truth, what difference was there between crafting puppets from wood and stone versus from corpses? The terminology might vary, but the essence was the same. From this, it was evident that the 100 Refinement Sect did not particularly concern itself with the distinctions between the righteous and demonic paths. The pinnacle technique for the Golden Core stage, the Yin Thunder Evil technique, requires 3,000 sec contributions. It's here. Chu Xuan flipped through the time, nodding in satisfaction. This Yin Thunder evil technique pursued a path of bold strikes and grand gestures. Once mastered, it rendered one fearless against the heavenly thunder, a favorite among many demonic cultivators. Yet, if one were to cultivate this technique by absorbing ordinary thunder spiritual chi, progress would be excruciatingly slow. It demanded the absorption of Yin Thunder to hasten cultivation. Additionally, this technique necessitated the prior mastery of a foundation establishment stage technique, the Five Thunder technique or the Mysterious Demise technique. Naturally, this posed no issue for Chu Xuan. With his prior experience cultivating the Blood Evil Demon refining scripture, mastering another foundation establishment stage technique was trivial. As for the Yin Thunder, it could only be formed through the combination of Yin Evil Chi and Thunder Spiritual Chi, a process fraught with difficulties. However, for Chu Xuan, it was merely a matter of exerting some effort. Once the formation was established, the Yin Thunder would roll forth in an instant, a mighty deluge of Yin Chi for his use alone, unclaimable by others. As Chu Xuan was about to depart from the scripture pavilion, he encountered someone ascending the stairs. It was Yuan Zichu. Upon seeing Chu Xuan, Yuan could not help but smile awkwardly. He vividly remembered how Chu Xuan had shattered his formidable defenses with a single punch. "Fellow Taoist, what a fortunate encounter," he greeted with a forced smile. "Congratulations on Black Dragon Mountain's grand victory in the recent sect-wide disciple competition." Yuan's Thousand Hammer Peak, recently established, had few disciples. In this competition, they had indeed ranked first, alas, from the bottom. Chu Xuan nodded slightly, then brushed past him. Yuan Zichu, a clever man, rarely left Thousand Hammer Peak, making it challenging for Chu Xuan to eliminate him covertly. Over time, Chu Xuan had grown indifferent to him. From the corner of his eye, Yuan noticed the Yin Thunder evil technique in Chu Xuan's hand and was visibly taken aback. The technique was notoriously difficult to master, only advancing rapidly with the aid of Yin Thunder. "Fellow Taoist, Yuan coughed lightly. "I know of a cavern underground that harbors Yin Thunder, which might aid your cultivation. However, there resides a powerful golden core stage demonic beast, necessitating our collaboration." Chu Xuan smiled. "No need. I am not fond of taking risks, nor do I relish conflict." Confused, Yuan watched as Chu Xuan walked away without hesitation. How could a cultivator not embrace risks for the sake of fierce advancement? This He Liang was truly peculiar. After leaving the scripture pavilion, Chu Xuan headed to the treasure pavilion. With over 10,000 sect contributions to his name, purchasing was a simple matter. After selecting some treasures, he quickly made his exit. Formed the array. Chu Xuan stood firm within the array. With a sweep of his consciousness, 72 array flags descended one by one, ultimately interconnecting to form an intricate and arcane pattern. This was the Grand Thunder Transformation Array, a mid-grade golden core formation that Chu Xuan had exchanged for 400 contribution points from 100 Refinement Sect's treasure pavilion. The array was designed to absorb the thunder spiritual chi from heaven and earth and gather it within the formation. However, Blue Star was a planet scarce in spiritual chi. Even if one harnessed all their power to absorb the natural spiritual chi, after a decade or so, it would barely fill a small spiritual stein. Thus, Chu Xuan decided to reverse its intended use, transforming the Grand Thunder Transformation Array into the Reverse Thunder Transformation Array. This modification allowed the array to expel the thunder spiritual chi accumulated inside, feeding it back into the external environment. After setting up this Reverse Thunder Transformation Array, Chu Xuan slapped his storage bag, and 3 head-sized crystals were thrown into the array. These crystals were heavenly thunder crystals, either formed coincidentally when natural lightning struck the earth or crafted by nascent soul stage cultivators who dared to harvest heavenly thunder and infuse it with spiritual chi. Due to their rarity, a head-sized heavenly thunder crystal could cost up to 20,000 small spiritual stones, equivalent to 200 contributions. Chu Xuan, however, was not concerned about the expense given his ample contributions. As soon as the 3 heavenly thunder crystals entered the array, they were immediately absorbed by the Reverse Thunder Transformation Array, transforming into pure thunder spiritual chi that flowed into the soul-capturing evil nurturing array. This thunder spiritual chi continuously collided and annihilated with the yin evil chi, eventually merging into one. Observing from the side, Chu Xuan quickly deduced that roughly 3 strands of thunder spiritual qi were needed to merge with 10 strands of yin evil qi to form a single mass of yin thunder. Let it take its time. No one is competing with me for this. I'll return in a month, and by then, this place will surely have accumulated a substantial amount of yin thunder. With a satisfied smile, Chu Xuan then vanished in a flash, disappearing from sight. Chapter 151. The Kingdom of Lulan. The Heaven-Burning Sect and 100 Refinement Sect had temporarily ceased hostilities, dispatching a vast number of cultivators to cast a net of heaven and earth, all to find Shang Qinjue and Shang Xingchen. However, the Nether Dao Sect's Ghost Palace was located within the Heaven-Burning Sect's territory. In this regard, the Heaven-Burning Sect clearly held some advantages. The 100 Refinement Sect had attempted multiple times to infiltrate the Ghost Palace to uncover its secrets, only to be repelled each time by the Heaven-Burning Sect's Golden Core cultivators. In the southern wildness of the cultivation world, a month blinked by, while on Blue Star, 10 months had already passed. When Chu Xuan returned to the array in Two Dragon City, he was startled to find the ground covered with yin thunder, each emitting an aura capable of annihilating everything. The wandering souls within the grand array dared not approach, fearing that a mere touch of the yin thunder would reduce them to ashes. Chu Xuan's face lit up with joy as he quickly brought out a large water jar and collected the yin thunder one by one. If placed within a storage bag, the yin thunder would obliterate all his treasures to dust. Hence, they must be contained in a vessel. This large jar had been crafted by a refiner from the 100 Refinement Sect. Its contents were not water but rather a paste of colored glaze. The entire jar was completely non-conductive, allowing the safe storage of yin thunder. "Now I can begin my cultivation," he exclaimed. "I have long coveted the spells of the yin thunder evil technique." Chu Xuan smiled. The yin thunder evil technique comprised 9 levels, each corresponding to the 9 levels of the Golden Core. Chu Xuan placed special emphasis on mastering the 1st, 5th, 8th, and 9th levels of the technique: Yin Thunder Seed, Yin Thunder Ghost Hand, Fierce Thunderfinger, and Yin Evil Thunder Shadow. The Yin Thunder Seed involved condensing yin thunder into pellets, stored indefinitely within the Dantian. In battle, hundreds of yin thunder seeds could explode forth, and even the strongest golden core would fall. The Yin Thunder Ghost Hand, similar in power to the Blood Evil Demon Claw, was a formidable control spell. The Fierce Thunderfinger, an attack spell, offered low consumption and high speed. Once unleashed, the endless barrage left enemies powerless to resist. The Yin Evil Thunder Shadow, formed from the Soul and Yin Thunder, approximately matched 60% of the caster strength. Typically concealed within shadows, it harbored a soul fragment, allowing it to combat foes autonomously. Chu Xuan had set his sights on the Yin Thunder evil technique, particularly for the spell known as the Yin Thunder Seed. Other cultivators, limited by their resources, could not amass a significant number of these seeds. But Chu Xuan was different. With the Reverse Thunder Transformation Array and the Soul-Capturing Evil Nurturing Array at his disposal, Yin Thunder was limitless. As long as he stored enough Yin Thunder seeds in his Dantian, he could even slay nascent souls. As for the other spells recorded in the Yin Thunder evil technique, some were of little practical use, merely auxiliary spells without offensive or defensive capabilities. The only thing I need to do now is cultivate as quickly as possible. The preliminary technique Mysterious Demise technique has been mastered, and there are no further obstacles. Chu Xuan felt exhilarated. 10 months had been more than sufficient for him to master this foundational cultivation technique. Let's begin. As Chu Xuan absorbed the Yin Thunder, he accelerated his practice of the Yin Thunder evil technique. With his ultimate level thunder spiritual root and relentless perseverance, it took him only 2 months to grasp the basics of the technique and master the Yin Thunder Seed. From that day on, his Dantian housed numerous thumb-sized purple-black thunderballs. The number of Yin Thunder seeds grew daily. After cultivating the Yin Thunder evil technique up to the 5th level in one go, Chu Xuan's Dantian contained over 1,000 Yin Thunder seeds. It's done. Chu Xuan was overjoyed. 1,000 Yin Thunder seeds, if released all at once, could even kill a 9th-level golden core cultivator on spot. Even against a first-level nascent soul, he might be able to seize the chance to escape. If he had 10,000 yin thunder seeds, even a nascent soul might pale in fear and turn to flee. Let's go to the southern wilderness. With a sigh, Chu Xuan ceased his cultivation and departed immediately. Beneath the boundless desert lay a massive ancient battlefield. This site was once the ancient kingdom of Lulan, ruled by a nascent soul cultivator, the king of Lulan. The blazing flame sect coveted Lolan's mineral resources and mobilized en masse, reaching the gates of Lolan's royal city within a month. The nascent soul ancestor of the blazing flame sect personally took action, intending to capture the king of Lulan and assimilate him into his soul fire. In his dying moments, the king of Lulan sacrificed the corpses of all Lolan's cultivators and mortals, triggering a terrifying explosion of corpses. The nascent soul ancestor of the blazing flame sect was severely injured, with only his nascent soul escaping, while the rest of the golden cores perished on the spot. After this battle, the blazing flame sect was left weakened and was subsequently dismantled by other sects. Ultimately, the heaven-burning sect emerged victorious, unifying the territory and becoming the sole hegemon of Yu country. However, the kingdom of Lulan had become a haunted ancient battlefield, home to lingering spirits and fierce ghosts. Few cultivators dared approach it. Even demonic cultivators, though bold and cautious, only skirted the edges and never ventured deep. The heaven-burning sect had initially stationed cultivators around the Lulan ancient battlefield to prevent demonic cultivators from sneaking in. But now, in their quest to find Shang Qinjue and Shang Xinchen, too many cultivators had been reassigned. Only 2 old Foundation establishment cultivators remained to guard the place, both of whom were nearing the end of their lives and hardly took their duties seriously, frequently rushing home to instruct their descendants. The site's defenses had long been virtually non-existent. At this moment, in the deepest part of the Lulan ancient battlefield, a figure sat cross-legged, his body seemingly a black hole. All the resentful spirits and fierce ghosts on the battlefield were irresistibly drawn towards him. They desperately tried to flee, but were quickly crushed by the aura emanating from his body and assimilated as nourishment into his form. The lingering spirit of the king of Lulan had been crushed and absorbed by this man upon his arrival at the battlefield. Above his head, a golden core spun lazily, completely covered in frost and studded with sharp spikes, lending it an especially sinister appearance. He had been sitting there for an unknown length of time. At a certain moment, cracks began to appear on the surface of the golden core, spreading like a spider web until they completely enveloped it. With a crisp crack, the golden core shattered. From within, a small figure emitting a faint glow leapt out. Nascent soul, achieved. The man exhaled a breath of turbid air. The faint light of the nascent soul illuminated his face, revealing a cold and ruthless visage, starkly different from the appearance of the nascent soul, which looked even more brutal and unrestrained, radiating an air of tyranny as if he were the supreme being between heaven and earth. This face belonged to Han Liyuan, but the soul within was that of Shang Qinjue. The nascent soul naturally resembled the true face of Shang Qinjue. The majestic aura of the nascent soul surged forth, threatening to sweep across all directions, powerful enough to resonate for thousands of miles and cause cultivators everywhere to bow in reverence. Shang Qinjue stared at this sweeping, invisible aura and coldly commanded, "Come back." The invisible fluctuations halted abruptly, then swiftly rolled back at high speed, quickly returning inside Shang Qinjue. Not a trace of the nascent soul's aura leaked out. "Shang Xinchen, my brother, I have stepped onto the path of the nascent soul. Do not disappoint me." Shang Qinjue raised his head, his gaze seemingly piercing through the void towards the central continent. Chapter 152, The Remnant of the Nether Dao Sect. 3 Peaks Mountain. This mountain range lay within the former dominion of the mystical Sound Palace. Compared to other areas, the spiritual qi here was sparse. At the foot of the mountain, there were only some mortal hunters who made their living by hunting wild beasts. It was precisely because of this that it was chosen as the meeting place by the hidden mountain gathering. When Chu Xuan arrived, he found that not everyone had gathered yet. 2 were missing. Jin Yitong still maintained his handsome, youthful appearance, flirtatiously exchanging glances with the voluptuous female cultivator known as Snow Grace from last time. Black Chess patiently waited for an hour before saying, "Flying Fish and Rainstorm, these two fellow Taoists have not arrived. Let's not wait any longer, we'll start the gathering now." Their absence could mean many things. Perhaps they were at a critical point in their cultivation and couldn't make it, or maybe they were seriously injured or even dead. Chu Xuan didn't care. This transaction was as uninteresting as the last. The truly useful treasures were beyond his means. His spirit steins were insufficient to purchase them. Most of the items were useful to others but useless to Chu Xuan. When it was Chu Xuan's turn, he presented 3 types of poison: chi-binding dust, chi-wounding smoke, and soul-numbing incense. Chi-binding dust had been brought out before. Chi-wounding smoke was a byproduct Chu Xuan had inadvertently created while researching a poison that would contaminate spiritual chi and harm golden cores. This substance was formless, with only a faint scent. Once inhaled, it increased the spiritual chi consumption with each circulation. The more one circulated their chi, the more it consumed, silently depleting an opponent's spiritual chi without them noticing. Soul-numbing incense was another type of poison. Also invisible, it had a rich and potent fragrance. After inhalation, it could numb the soul, significantly reducing the sensitivity with which one could control their magic treasures, thereby providing an advantage in combat. The moment these 3 poisons were introduced, they caught the attention of the other Golden Core cultivators. "Heartless, I want a bottle of the soul-numbing incense," Jin Yitong immediately declared. Black Chess, Sky Stone, and others also arranged private transactions with Chu Xuan. Chu Xuan nodded slightly. This would certainly boost his coffers. Watching the treasures being traded, which he could neither afford nor seize, felt rather frustrating. Information about Shang Chenjua's whereabouts, stated the middle-aged cultivator known by the code name Deep Sea calmly. All eyes turned sharply towards him. Both the Heaven-Burning Sect and the 100 Refinement Sect, under the orders of their respective nascent soul ancestors, were searching for Shang Chenjua and Shang Xingchen. Of course, the majority of cultivators were unaware of their true objectives. Likely, only the dozen participants at the Hidden Mountain Gathering knew about the bounty and rewards offered by the Feather Transformation Heaven Palace. This piece of information is valuable. "I want 5,000 small spiritual stones," Deep Sea raised a finger. "I'm listening." Black Chess immediately threw a low-grade storage bag towards him. "I want to hear it too." "I'm listening as well." In the blink of an eye, everyone had thrown 5,000 small spiritual stones towards him. Deep Sea then continued, "Between you country and you country, in the boundless desert, there's an ancient battlefield of Lulan. Just a few days ago, the malevolent energy of resentment at the site dissipated, and the lingering spirit of the king of Lulan vanished without a trace. The Heaven-Burning Sect has already sent people to investigate and found traces of the cultivation of the Nether Reverse Immortal Art." Chu Xuan listened thoughtfully. The Nether Reverse Immortal Art was clearly a technique from the Nether Dao Sect. This meant that a cultivator from the Nether Dao Sect had recently been practicing there. This was significant news. It could be either Shang Chenjua or Shang Xingchen, though it was also possible that it was a diversion meant to mislead the Heaven-Burning Sect. Such tactics had been used before and were not unheard of, even within the territory of the 100 Refinement Sect. Chu Xuan had heard such stories more than once from Song Junjie and Chen Tang. After Deep Sea finished sharing his information, the trade continued. When it was Whitewater's turn, he smiled lightly. "Information. I know where a remnant of the Nether Dao Sect is. By tracking the techniques they cultivate, we can find Shang Chenjua hidden in the southern wilderness." This statement piqued the interest of all the cultivators present. Compared to Deep Sea's information, Whitewater's was evidently more useful. Deep Sea merely indicated that someone had practiced in the ancient battlefield of Lulan, likely from the Nether Dao Sect. However, Whitewater's information could potentially lead directly to Shang Chenjua. "Starting bid is 30,000 small spiritual stones," Whitewater said with a smile. This news was clearly unique, not to be shared like other pieces of information. The attending cultivators immediately began to bid. I bid 32,000 small spiritual stones, declared Flying Fish sternly. 33,000, Jen Eton, who went by the alias Righteous, also joined in. I bid 35,000, Snowgrease raised the bid. 40,000 small spiritual stones. Let's not fight over this, everyone, Black Chest chuckled. Chu Xuan also made a symbolic bid, but he had no intention of securing the information. It was merely a casual addition on his part. He still believed that a genius who had escaped a deadly catastrophe 500 years ago would not be easy to find. Trying to locate Shang Chenjua through such means would likely provoke his retaliation, which could be fatal. Eventually, the information was acquired by Deep Sea for 51,000 small spiritual stones. Black Chess, I'm leaving first, Deep Sea said in a deep voice. Of course, fellow Taoist, please go ahead, Black Chess replied with a smile. Having spent such a considerable sum on the information, Deep Sea was naturally eager to leave rather than waste more time here. Chu Xuan watched his departing figure, contemplative. He had some guesses about Deep Sea's identity. It was very likely that he was a cultivator from the Heaven-Burning Sect. The information Deep Sea had previously shared seemed to support this conjecture. After Deep Sea's departure, the trading session became much duller. The cultivators seemed distracted. Not long afterward, the Golden Core gathering officially ended, and all the Golden Core cultivators dispersed. Chu Xuan didn't delay. After making several day tours to shake off any potential followers and disposing of his disguise, he returned to Black Dragon Mountain. In Wu Province, Yun Family Village. This small mountain village comprised only 20 to 30 households. The villagers lived a simple life. They worked from sunrise to sunset, day after day, year after year. There was a famous doctor in the village, whom everyone called Dr. Jiang. Dr. Jiang and his family had moved to Yun Family Village at some unspecified time. It seemed that since their arrival, the number of snakes, insects, rats, and ants in the vicinity had markedly decreased. 60 years had passed since Dr. Jiang, who had moved here, had died of illness. His son, however, had inherited his medical skills and had earned himself the reputation of being the young Dr. Jiang. On this day, life in Yun Family Village continued as peacefully as ever. A villager who had been bitten by a poisonous insect came to the young Dr. Jian's house seeking treatment. A beautiful woman with a slightly protruding belly came out and smiled. "Ah, it's uncle from next door. Please wait a moment, my husband is preparing some medicine." As soon as she finished speaking, a middle-aged man came out. He frowned and said, "An insect bite is a serious matter. It must be treated immediately. How can we delay? Please follow me." Chapter 153, The Might of Shang Chenjua. The elderly villager with dark, aged skin staggered, nearly falling. However, the young Dr. Jiang was quick to react, swiftly steadying him. The villager, grateful, was about to speak when suddenly a thumb-sized red insect crawled out of his mouth. In an instant, the insect violently exploded. The intense explosion engulfed the house and the surrounding 3 or 4 buildings in fierce flames. Then, the horrific blast swept through the area, scattering debris and splinters everywhere. The nearby villagers were stunned. Buzz! At that moment, an immensely powerful presence descended from the sky, pressing down on everyone like a great mountain. The villagers looked towards the horizon and were astonished to see 4 figures standing on beams of light, hovering in midair. Immortals. We did not know immortals were visiting. Forgive us for not greeting you from afar. The villagers were utterly terrified and immediately fell to their knees in worship. However, the 4 figures remained silent, their gazes fixed on the chaotic ruins left by the explosion. "I've hidden here for 60 years, wanting nothing more than to live as a mortal. Why? Why must you come to find me? You killed my wife. You killed my child. a voice emerged from the ruins. Debris, bricks, and wooden beams were blasted away by a surge of spiritual chi. Dr. Jiang stood unharmed amid the destruction, his eyes cold and filled with deep resentment as he looked up at the 4 golden core cultivators from the Heaven-Burning Sect. The leader of the Heaven-Burning Sect golden core cultivators, however, did not respond to his accusations but instead spoke on his own accord. Mo Ming, a golden core cultivator of the Nether Dao sect, a close aide of the overlord Shan Chenjue. After the collapse of the Nether Dao sect, he vanished. That fireburn insect just now also contained a rot soul insect, specifically designed to counteract the technique you practice. Your strength has already been greatly diminished. After finishing his statement, he calmly said, Mo Ming, come with us. Whoosh! The 4 figures moved at once, closing in rapidly. Although Mo Ming was powerful, he was outnumbered. In the blink of an eye, he was subdued by the 4. Who told you I was here? Who told you the weakness of my technique? Mo Ming, covered in blood, roared like a maddened beast. The 4 golden core cultivators remained silent. A talisman struck Mo Ming, silencing him as he sank into a forced calm. In the blink of an eye, the 4 figures vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the chaos of Yun family village. Whitewater River. This great river, majestic and vast, originated in Yang country, grew in strength through Yu country, and finally surged eastward into the vast ocean. Many years ago, during a succession crisis in Yu country, the ruler of Yang country attempted to annex it. The then Grand General of Yu country chose to fight halfway across the Whitewater River. A brutal melee ensued. Ultimately, Yang country was repelled, and Yu country was also severely weakened. Both sides left hundreds of thousands of corpses along the Whitewater River and withdrew. Since then, the Whitewater River battlefield was born. Perhaps due to the dense malevolent energy, the waters flowing past the site also carried an intense chill. At this moment, a figure sat meditating at the center of the Whitewater River battlefield. The rolling river flowed swiftly beneath him. He floated above the water, undisturbed, the calm belying the storm within. He was Shan Chenjue. He had been waiting for a long time again. Heaven-Burning Sect must have captured Mo Ming by now. I'll wait here. I hope they don't take too long and waste my time. Shan Chenjue remained composed. 3 days later, lead figures appeared on the horizon. An overwhelming aura descended from the sky as if to erase the entire battlefield from existence. They have finally arrived. Shan Chenjue opened his eyes, a glint of cold light flashing within them. An elderly man with graying temples and a hunched figure had appeared before him at some unknown moment. Shan Chenjue, it really is your aura, the old man said calmly. Old dog, you're still alive. That's great, Shan Chenjue smiled. Shantu Jin's eyes darkened instantly. Old dog. It had been many years since he had heard such a derogatory term. Except for Shan Chenjue, no one dared to address him that way. Nearby, 5 golden core cultivators from the Heaven-Burning Sect hovered in midair. Hearing Shan Chenjue's voice, their pupils shrank. Such aggressiveness. So this was Shan Chenjue, the overlord? Ignorant child, I shall teach you how to respect your elders. Shantu Jin growled, his hand striking downwards fiercely. A gigantic hand, some 5 jongs in height and of a dull yellow hue, rose from the ground, aiming to grasp Shan Chenjue. 500 years have passed, and you are still weak, Shan Chenjue sneered. With a fierce stomp, the rushing river water instantly froze. The gigantic earthen hand was also covered in frost. Before it could even reach Shan Chenjue, it burst violently into pieces, dissipating into spiritual chi. Shantu Jin's eyes widened slightly. He sensed something amiss. His attack, although not at full strength, had possessed 50% of his power. How could Shan Chenjue so easily break it? Could it be? Shantu Jin bellowed and conjured a small tower, his magic treasure. Earth Spirit Tower, slay him. The magic treasure swelled in size upon catching the wind, quickly growing to over 30 feet tall as it loomed over Shan Chenjue. A mere top-grade magic treasure. Shan Chenjue scoffed. He watched the descending Earth Spirit Tower and hurled a powerful punch at it. With a loud bang, the tower shattered into pieces. Shintu Jin spat out a mouthful of blood, his shock profound. Your physical cultivation level. He pointed a finger, and his life-bound magic treasure immediately flew out to protect him. But he realized that Shan Chenjue's figure had already disappeared from its original spot. Suddenly, screams echoed from behind him. Shintu Jin whirled around to see that the 5 golden core cultivators had exploded into 5 clouds of blood mist twinkling with golden threads. The blood mist condensed, eventually forming a pill of flowing blood and golden light, which Shan Chenjue swallowed in one gulp. 5 golden cores, not too shabby. Shan Chenjue's complexion glowed with a flush of vitality. He turned to Shintu Jin with a cold smile. Old dog, I have long coveted your nascent soul. Shintu Jin felt a chill crawl up his scalp. He realized it now. Shan Chenjue had ascended to the nascent soul realm. He had grossly underestimated his opponent's level. His mind raced with this revelation, quickly coming to the conclusion that he had likely fallen into Shan Chenjue's trap. This was not a case of the lion fighting the rabbit, but rather the predator feigning a pig to devour the tiger. Without a second thought, Shintu Jin employed an escape technique, turning to flee. In his early days when he first entered the Golden Core realm, Shan Chenjue was already formidable enough to make all other golden cores in his sect cower. Now, as a nascent soul, he could easily grind even a well-known nascent soul cultivator like him into the dirt. Shan Chenjue's peerless talent was something Shintu Jin, once a nascent soul ancestor of the Nether Dao sect, knew better than anyone else. Thinking of running? Too late. Shan Chenjue's chilling voice suddenly rang out from behind. Before Shintu Jin could react, he shockingly found that his heart had already been pierced through by a powerful hand. Chapter 154, 100 Refinements Sect declares submission. In an instant, Shintu Jin was terrified out of his wits. Without hesitation, his nascent soul left his body, abandoning the physical form and fleeing towards the distance. The nascent soul had many marvelous uses, with one of the most important being the ability to teleport by consuming its essence, reaching any location within the span of the spiritual sense in an instant. Waiting for your nascent soul to leave the body was exactly what I planned, Shan Chenjue sneered ominously. In the next moment, he teleported directly in front of Shintu Jin's nascent soul. The nascent soul, still concerned about what was behind, did not notice the large hand already reaching for it. Ah! The nascent soul cried out in agony. Shan Chenjue grasped it fiercely, casually kneading it before tossing it into his mouth. The cultivation methods of the Nether Dao sect emphasized ruthlessness and dominance. Golden cores and nascent souls were consumed directly, no additional processing needed. Such raw consumption was considered the best in terms of nutritional value. After swallowing Shintu Jin's nascent soul, Shan Chenjue casually scooped up Shintu Jin's remains along with his storage bag and then headed straight for the Heaven Burning Sect's main gates. Black Dragon Mountain. The elder, Jian Yitain, personally visited to deliver significant news to Chu Xuan. Fellow Taoist He, the nascent soul ancestor of the Heaven Burning Sect, Shintu Jin, has perished, and his sect was bloodily purged by Shan Chenjue alone. From top to bottom, not a single one was spared. It was too tragic. Jian Yitain trembled as he spoke. Truly, the title of Overlord was well-deserved. What a ferocious man. The headquarters of the Heaven Burning Sect, which included 3 Golden Core cultivators, over 80 Foundation Establishment cultivators, and more than 1,000 Qi refining disciples, were all turned into blood mist and devoured by Shan Chenjue. Only those Golden Core elders and their disciples who had established their own dwellings outside were spared. Chu Xuan listened, clicking his tongue in amazement at the sheer brutality of it all. The Nether Dao sect's methods were indeed tyrannical. They didn't use any cauldrons or alchemical apparatus. Instead, they directly refined people into blood pills and soul pills for consumption. No wonder the sect was once feared by many smaller sects. When the sect fell, it was these smaller sects that kicked them while they were down and fanned the flames. Jin Etime sighed lightly that Shan Qianjue will likely make his way to our 100 Refinement sect next. If that truly happens, how shall we respond, fellow Taoist? Chu Xuan responded with righteous fervor. I, He Liang, have received great kindness from the 100 Refinement sect. Naturally, I cannot abandon the sect. In life, I am a person of the 100 Refinement sect. In death, I will be its ghost. Jin Etong smacked his lips and said, All right, fellow Taoist, I understand. I'll be taking my leave now. Chu Xuan watched Jin Etong depart, a smile crossing his face. This old man was a cunning sort, very clear-headed. Just as I expected, that Shan Qianjue is no easy adversary, he mused. A well-known nascent soul ancestor was slain by him, and the heaven-burning sect was obliterated overnight. Shan Qianjue is definitely a nascent soul cultivator, not to be trifled with. If he doesn't come looking for me, all the better. But if he does, then it's time to flee. The concepts of sect loyalty or deep master-disciple bonds never existed in Chu Xuan's dictionary. He felt no psychological burden about it, ready to flee at a moment's notice. With treasures like the blood mirror to preserve his life, survival was his utmost priority. If worst came to worst, he could seclude himself in the Blue Star to cultivate for decades or even a century to reach the nascent soul realm. Then, returning to the cultivation world, he'd rise again as a formidable force. As for the disciples of Black Dragon Mountain, they could scatter to the winds when the time came. Still, he could wait a bit. Even if he had to flee, he'd need to gather necessary resources first. A few days later, Chu Xuan received unexpected news that even he found surprising. The 100 Refinement sect had actually submitted to Shan Qianjue. This news, issued by a nascent soul ancestor of the 100 Refinement sect, reached every Golden Core Elder's token. Upon receiving this news, Chu Xuan's first reaction wasn't joy but concern. This meant that the entire 100 Refinement sect was now tied to Shan Qianjue's chariot. Sooner or later, Feather Transformation Heaven Palace, the absolute dominator of the Mystic Azure Star, would learn of this, and then the 100 Refinement sect would have to face their towering wrath. However, until Feather Transformation Heaven Palace makes a move, we are safe for now, Chu Xuan considered. With Heaven Burning Sect destroyed, there's still one thing I can do. Remembering an old man, he immediately activated his Imperial Sky Mirror, soaring southward. Beneath the banner of the Heaven Burning Sect were two branches of the Huang family. One, burgeoning with golden cores, was a bona fide golden core lineage. The other had only sporadically produced golden cores, and for several centuries now, had not seen a new one, relegating them to a mere foundation establishment family. There was scant interaction between the two Huang clans. Yet, the founders from centuries ago were two brothers. Chu Xuan had hesitated to strike immediately, wary of this connection. Eliminating this foundation establishment family could likely provoke inquiries from the Golden Core lineage. Should such scrutiny trace back to him, the costs would outweigh the gains. Now, with the Heaven Burning Sect no more, all the cultivating families were thrown into utter disarray. The time had come to fulfill the vows once made. Moments later, at the Huang residence, corpse puppets roared and blood bees buzzed. The grounds were strewn with the slaughtered scions of the Huang family. Huang stood amidst the crowd, his rage of decades finally erupting. With corpse puppets bolstering his assault, he carved a path of carnage, unstoppable. You harmed my grandson. You deserve to die. My grandson was a prodigy. He was destined to become a great foundation establishment cultivator. You damnable members of the direct line. Huang bellowed, his sword descending. The direct descendant of the Huang family before him was claved into a mound of flesh. Uncle, I am not of the direct line, I am also from a collateral branch. Spare my life. Spare my life, please. The young man by his side was utterly terrified, retreating continuously. But the fire in Huang'an's eyes did not wane. You are of the collateral branch, but you are a dog of the direct line. I have thoroughly investigated. My grandson was harmed abroad, and it was you who added fuel to the flames. You envied his talent. You deserve death even more. The sword fell, and blood sprayed wildly. Chu Xuan stood aloft, taking in everything below. Huang'an was universally acknowledged as an honest, simple man. Diligent, earnest, and meticulous in all his endeavors. But such a man, once provoked, could wreak disastrous consequences. Moments later, Huang'an returned to Chu Xuan's side. His emotions had stabilized, only his hands still trembled. Huang'an began to laugh. His smile was complex, tinged with resignation and resentment, profoundly intricate. Master, your servant's wish has been fulfilled. If you no longer have need of me, I shall take poison and end my remaining days. Huang'an spoke with deep respect. Chu Xuan's gaze drifted into the distance, deep in thought. Huang'an's life or death hung on his decision. Yet, such a loyal servant as Huang'an had become a rarity. He was quite useful. Chu Xuan had no desire to dispose of him so hastily. He flicked his finger lightly. A mid-grade storage bag fell into Huang'an's hands. The contents are now yours. Though you are too old to build your foundation normally, you could do so through demonic means. When I need you again, I will appear. With that, Chu Xuan vanished. Clutching the storage bag, Huang'an's hands trembled uncontrollably. He kowtowed on the spot, solemnly saying, "Master's grace, your servant will never forget for as long as I live."